Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Open Boat. Today we are here at the fillet table. We're not filleting fish, but we're talking fish. So we're going into some tips and tricks on targeting my favorite species, but in the spring. Now, if you didn't already read the thumbnail or listen to Jim's little intro, my favorite species to fish for, drum roll please, is the blackfish, of course. So targeting blackfish in the spring is a little bit different compared to targeting them in the winter months. And there's some factors that get affected into it. Where are they hanging out at? You know, they migrate offshore, are they hanging out inshore? What are they feeding on? What's their spawn pattern? Like, how are they acting to that? There's a ton of different factors, of course, with every species as they go through the different cycle of months that affect them year round. So, going into the specifics of targeting spring run blackfish, first off is the type of bait you want to use and how that bait affects the type of rig / jig that you use. It doesn't really affect the jig, it will affect the rig. So going into the type of bait you want to use, specifically like in the spring, blackfish have softer lips, so they don't want to be crunching down on a crab because of that hard shell. So what are you going to use instead? You're going to use soft baits. What type of soft baits are you going to use? You can do sandworms, you can do cooked shrimp, and you could do salted clams. So you can go to your local tackle shop and get yourself some salted clams and some worms, and you can even go to Wegmans and get yourself some shrimp. Make sure you don't eat it. Save it for your blackfish trip. So since I have the clams here, I'm going to show you an easy way to rig them up. Of course, if you're a jig fisherman, you just pop a little piece on your jig and toss it down. But you know, us ladies over here, we gotta stay classy and fish a rig. So I'm gonna show you just a simple rig to tie that you can use for spring blackfish. So I have the rig right here. You can see it, it's just a doubled snell hook right here. You got your owner hooks spaced out like this far apart with your loop tied up at the top, and you can attach that to your top shot. And of course, if you do a Belmar rig, wrap your stinker around and you're all good to go. So since I have these delicious surf clams here, we're gonna fish out 2 perfect primo pieces of salted clam. So the type of pieces you want to use for specifically this type of rig, they look like this. Looks like a good old snot loogie right there with the little sucker piece at the top. Clam anatomy, we know. So you're gonna take this bottom hook, you're gonna hook it through that fatty section of the clam just like that, easy peasy. Now some guys, if you're using like a snafu rig, they'll take that second hook and put it through that clam. I like to do the more the merrier. I will fish out a second little piece of clam snot and hook it on that same piece, and you just have a delicious clam string rig right there ready for you to drop down to the bottom. And what's cool about using clam or soft baits in the spring, especially on the boat, is the bycatch. Don't even get me started about all the cod you can get, even some ling. Like, you get a trifecta day out there fishing on a party boat. You get blackfish, you get cod, and you get ling. A delicious spread to have take home to dinner. Like, I'm just getting so excited thinking about it. I'm literally starving at the thought. Not so much starving at the look of these salted clams, but the ling, blackfish, and cod sounds absolutely delicious right now. So the bite going into using this type of soft bait rig here is going to be a little bit different compared to a crab bite. Of course, the blackfish, you know, they still have their terrible teeth that orthodontists would love to work on. They will crunch up a crab bite by bite. That gives you the traditional little tap, tap, tap bite that you'll get in the winter. But if you're using a clam, as you drop this down and you're waiting for your bite, you can picture good old Tony Soprano slurping up some spaghetti, because that's basically what the blackfish are gonna do. A lot of the times when you're fishing a soft bait like the clam, they'll literally slurp up the clam and swim off with your rig. So you'll feel them literally swimming away, and that's when you set the hook. So basically that's just a little rundown on the type of rigs that you'd wanna be using if you're targeting spring blackfish, and the types of baits, and of course, Make sure you follow all the rules and regulations for every species you target, and specifically remember their spawn season. Especially if you catch a big female out there, you may want to consider releasing her. See you guys on next week's Open Boat.